What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flix. Very, very happy to be back. I'm sitting with my guy Mason Biddle. Just finished up his first year head coaching at Francis Parker High School. Did an amazing job over there. Happy to have you on the show, bro. Appreciate you joining me.
Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. How you doing today, fam?
Oh, amazing.
Absolutely. I like to start with all my guests, especially because not a lot of time people might know you from from maybe just his first year at Francis Parker, or from Multilevel. But I like to start all the way from the beginning and get everybody's their full story. So just to give everybody a quick intro. Like I said, head coach at Francis Parker, has his own. Is it travel team or is it just training?
It's just training business now.
Just training, multi-level basketball, and just and tell me your position at WestCoast Elite.
I'm the San Diego director.
San Diego director of WestCoast Elite. So my guy's wearing a lot of hats, lots of responsibilities. We go get into it all, but like I said, let's start from the beginning. Where did your sports and basketball journey begin?
So I grew up in Riverside, California, and it started there probably when I was in, I would say ever since I could hold a ball. But yeah, I started playing real competitive basketball probably in the 4th or 5th grade, where it was that time where you could actually do some moves and showcase yourself. And then I went to Arlington High School in Riverside. I played 2 years at Riverside Community College, where I was a starting point guard there. And then I got a scholarship to Western State, Colorado, out in Gunnison, Colorado in the RMAC. It was a Division II, and started there for 2 years. And then I played 2 years in Germany, and I moved out here in 2018.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's nice. What was, how old are you? I'm sorry?
I turned 30 April 3rd.
Okay, now so what was the basketball scene and the basketball community like in Riverside when you were coming up there?
Man, it's a lot different than San Diego. I mean, we were borderline with LA and obviously Inland Empire. It was a good brand of basketball. It was tough. We played in a league with Rancho Verde. I don't know if you've heard of them from Reno Valley. They had Mike Snare, went to Florida State. Kyle Fuller went to Vanderbilt and all those guys. So it was a highly competitive league.
I know that, but I feel like a lot of people don't know that. When I was playing ball, and I'm only 34, and I grew up playing ball here in San Diego. Not a lot of basketball against San Bernardino and the IE area, but whenever we did, it was always high level, always real athletic, real competitive. And I don't think a lot of people really know that about that area. I mean, you could probably assume that because right there, like you said, right on the border of LA, and everyone knows the talent that's in LA. Yeah. But as San Diego doesn't get the respect it deserves, the Inland Empire definitely, the basketball that's played in the Inland Empire and the Riverside area definitely does, or San Bernardino area doesn't get the respect it deserves.
Yeah, and growing up for me, Inland Empire was more I don't know how Inland Empire views San Diego. So LA viewed the Inland Empire like Inland Empire views San Diego now.
Got you, okay.
So, but now it's Inland Empire has, powerhouses like Riverside Poly, where Lamont Butler went. All these schools that are in the Inland Empire now are really, really good. Roosevelt, where a couple of my guys go. Centennial's a Inland Empire team per se because they're from Corona.
Didn't Kawhi go there?
Kawhi went to Riverside King.
Riverside King.
Okay. Yeah, he was I was a freshman when he was a senior, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So, growing up, it was a lot of good players, a lot of talent for sure. Yeah.
What was your high school career like?
My high school career was really good. Freshman, I played mostly JV, a little bit of varsity. My dad was actually the JV basketball coach, so I practiced with varsity, played JV, and played up and down the whole year. And then my sophomore year, I got straight to it. Went in as a starter, led the county in threes, averaged I think 24 or 25 points per game. Yeah, and then junior and senior year was pretty much the same. So, yeah.
So by your senior year, you were pretty dominant then.
Yeah. We were pretty good. We weren't that great as a team. About 17 and 11 or something like that my senior year, but yeah, I got busy.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, I just had a question. I just left my head that quick. That's all good. We'll move on. What? Oh no, that was what it was. So you say your dad was a coach. Did you grow up being coached by your dad pretty much most of your life?
Yeah, my dad was my coach. He was always a coach at Arlington High School where I went, and then he was my coach all the way up until. He always obviously helped, but he kind of let me go when I was in 6th grade. Yeah.
What was that like being coached by your dad?
It was it was good. It was intense. Yeah, he was very he was a disciplinary. So he was like, you're gonna do it this way, and don't ask me to do extra stuff unless you're going hard as you could go, and I'm not getting up unless you're gonna go hard. And he would never tell me no. But if I was ever being lazy or something, he would like, all right, let's pack it up. And then, obviously I'd throw a fit or something like, no, I don't want to leave. But yeah, so that's kind of how our dynamic was. But yeah, he held me accountable, so it was really good.
I see. What was it? I asked because it could, from my experience, my dad coached me 1 year of football, but it was only for 1 year, you know what I mean? But I've seen other people who are, even if their dad isn't necessarily their direct coach, their dad like trains them, or if he is their direct coach, it either becomes like they get really, really cool and really close and it's like how they bond, or it's the exact opposite and they butt heads. While the kid is still getting better if the coach is doing what he's supposed to do. The kid is still, so I've seen it go both ways.
Yeah, it was like 5th to 6th grade. It was really, really good. Like I just, you know how you think of your dad when you're in 5th grade, like, man, he's your hero, right? And then as you get older, it's like even when he's right, you don't necessarily want to listen to your dad. Mm-hmm. And I think the good thing with my dad was he kind of knew when that time was, and he was like, all right, I'm going to put you with somebody I trust. Because whether I tell you something good or bad, you're just gonna fight it. Mm-hmm. Which I did sometimes. And sometimes he was right, sometimes he was wrong. But yeah, so that was kind of how our dynamic went. And then me growing up and playing, I mean, he never missed a game. He was always there, front row, watching. And obviously when I had bad games, the car rides home weren't great. But yeah, that was our dynamic.
I'm sure. Did he play?
He did not. He played in high school a little bit, but he didn't. So that was another thing where I was like, hey man.
Right. Like I see. It's funny. Back when, I guess who I'm talking about specifically, I guess I won't mention. But back when I used to train, you know him by the way. I guess I'll probably tell you off camera. But back when I used to train, and he wasn't his son's coach like at all on any team. But and like I said, I used to train. Whenever I trained him, Dad would be on the court like in the corner, like on the sideline or baseline or whatever, and he like even when he was in 5th, 6th grade, he'd fumble the ball or miss an easy shot, and Dad would be on him. And it got to the point where Dad had to like not, and I didn't ask him to not be there. He just realized like, all right, I gotta let the trainer just train. I gotta not be here.
Right.
And he would live like, all right, shake my hand, and he would be gone for the next hour and a half, and then come back and get him later. So I definitely. I'm real curious about that whenever I hear somebody say that they play for their dad. So
no, yeah, it's tough. The good thing for me that I learned from my dad was like the accountability part and the fact of being a good teammate. Mm-hmm. So he was real big on that, and I had my stages, just like every kid did, where I was like, man, I thought I was right, or I didn't have a great attitude with teammates or something like that, and he would check me on that pretty quick.
That's dope. A lot of times you see like. It sounds like you were always pretty good. It sounds like a lot of the times when like the best player and their dad is like, even if he's like one of those rah-rah dads, blaming others, and then like he's like, take every shot, do what you want. Like it's about getting you to college, and if you pass the ball, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's dope that he made sure that you were, a good teammate and all that. Yeah. So it was all for you, playing college basketball was always the goal then?
Playing, I mean, just like any kid, my dream was always Division I. So that's why coming out of high school, I had a full ride to San Diego Christian. When Coach Cook was there at the time, like a little school, NAI, La Sierra University, that was local, and I was like, I felt a little shorted, but honestly, my high school career, when I look back on it, when I was in high school, I was like, man, I'm out here getting busy. I'm averaging 27. Like, what's going on? But then I look back on it, it's like, did you play defense as hard as you can? No. Did you guys win games? Like, were you a great teammate? I was like, you had some questions as I got older. I was like, that's probably what happened. And I'm a realist, so it's like, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to go the JC route and get to Division I, or at least higher than NAIA. And so that's what I did. So my mentor and one of my favorite coaches ever is at Cal Poly SLO now, and he was the head coach at RCC at the time. And I was really, really close with him, so he basically recruited me, and I chose him over just about anybody. So I went over there and had a really good freshman year. Had almost signed at Kentucky Wesleyan after my freshman year, and I had a couple other Division IIs. So as a kid, you're thinking like, oh, freshman year, I got a big, and Kentucky Wesleyan was good. I was like, I got one of the best Division IIs. I was like, I'm going to come back my sophomore year. I'm only going to get better. I'm going to get a Division I. So I came back my sophomore year, and I just had like 15 other D2s. So it's just like, I was like, all right, maybe I'm Division II. Yeah, so it was like, it was kind of, and I had options to go to like a Division I and like partially get a scholarship or like, you know, do the walk-on route and all that stuff. But I was a little egotistical, stubborn, you know. So I think I could have earned a spot somewhere, but I was like, man, if you don't really want me, then I don't really want to be here. You know, it was one of those things.
It's a good mentality to have. It's funny you say that. And I meant to screenshot it and put it on in my Instagram story yesterday, but I just seen a tweet. I forget who tweeted it, but I just seen a tweet yesterday. A coach was saying something about if you feel like you're a Division I player and you've gotten a couple Division II looks and you're holding out for D1, and a whole bunch of D2s keep coming in, maybe you're a Division II player, bro. Don't hold out for it's like don't hold out for something that isn't for you and miss out on what is for you. You know what I mean? Sure. So it's funny that you mentioned. I was just reading. I meant to put that in my story just to, you know.
And it could be for a number of reasons. Like, you know, height. Mine was probably like I talked to Coach Smith about it a lot. He was like, dude, it's probably height and athleticism. Like your IQ's off the chart. Like I know you could, if you get there, you'll prove it, but you got to get there. Right. You know, so sometimes somebody has to take a chance on you, and that's just the nature of the business, especially basketball.
So you get to Division II and you're happy to be there.
Yeah. So mine came down to my last 3 Division IIs. I've visited so many, but the last 2 I went to Hawaii Pacific on a visit, and then I went to Western State, Colorado, and I kind of came down to those 2. Me and my dad wrote out the pros and cons, and I chose Western State because I'm not against being in the snow and the cold. But also at Hawaii Pacific, I had way too much fun on my recruiting trip, and I was like, I'm not graduating. I knew myself. I was like, I'm gonna be here for 6 years with no degree. So I knew myself back then, and I was just like, you know what? Let me go grind, get this degree, and take that route. So yeah,
very mature. It's funny. I had a friend. I won't say what school he went to, I guess, but I had a friend like when I was in high school, and he was like, as soon as he started getting recruited, he was like, bro, I'm playing for Hawaii. And back then, Hawaii wasn't even like a basketball school like that. But he was like, bro, I'm living in Hawaii for 4 years, and you know what I mean? He ended up not going, but like he was the exact opposite of what you're talking about. He's like, no, I'm going to Hawaii. The girls, the sun,
it's a hard place to leave. And I had to find a coaching staff in school that really, really liked me. Because my dad he was a teacher for a long time, and he made just enough money where I didn't get any financial aid. So I was literally on a full scholarship. Because you know how guys nowadays, it's like some guys get half financial aid and they give you a full scholarship, but they only have to give you half a scholarship because your other financial aid covers half of it. So for me, I didn't get any, so I needed a coach that was like, now you're going to be my point guard and my guy because I'm giving you a full ride. So that was where it was a little different for me. But yeah, I made a lot of great friends, like lifelong friends at Western State, and the coach that recruited me I still talk to today. So yeah, it was a good choice, I think.
At the end of at what point did you? So you say your goal was always Division I. At what point did you start thinking about the possibility of being a professional basketball player?
When I was at Western State, one of my really good friends was Malcolm Lee, and he went to UCLA. And I used to go up to UCLA and work out with him and stay with him for weeks at a time. And when I was up there a few times just playing one-on-one with these big-time guys, I was like, you know what, man, like you never think of yourself as like, man, I can't do this. Like, man, I could do this. Like, I could always get a little bit better. And then when I was at Western State, I mean, I had a pretty good senior year. I averaged 17, 4 and 4. And I was just like, I just wasn't ready to stop playing. And when I realized it was when I had a couple people reaching out to me from Colorado, and I went to a little training combine out there, and they're like, you know what? And then the agent was like, you know what? I'll take you on for free, and try and get your film out and talk to a couple guys. And then I got my first overseas connection from a friend of mine who played in Germany before me, and he just called the new coach that he knew and was like, dude, you should connect with Mason. And then we connected for about a year or so, and he picked somebody else the first year, and then he took a chance on me the second year for my rookie year. So
nice.
Yeah.
And what was that like? You get the culture shock? Man, did you enjoy it?
It was the first time I ever left the country. So I hadn't even been to Mexico. Yeah, so I had to get my passport and do all that, and and it was a little scary, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was frightening because, you know, you get off the plane in Germany and your coach is supposed to pick you up, and they just have a sign with your name, and it's like, I guess that's my coach. Let's roll. Yeah, then you drive to your apartment, they drop you off, and that's how it goes. But I ended up being with a lot of great people, so it was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you stayed there for 2 years?
Yeah. So my first year, we were really good. We were like 31-6. Came in.
I'm sorry to cut you off. And what level of league is this?
Regionalliga 1, so the third league in Germany.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and in Germany, it's when you win your league, you move up every year. If you're at the very bottom, you move down. A team always moves up and a team always moves down. So we were fighting for a position to go to Pro B, and we made it to the championship game. And in Germany and in all countries, it's all about sponsorships. So we had some big sponsors that were like, hey, if you guys want to move up and you guys win this game, like, we want to bring back you and X amount of dollars and all that. And it was pretty nice. And I was going to re-sign with that team, and we lost. So it hurt. It was like a little nice little bonus if you won to go home with too. So it was tough. It was a tough pill to swallow. Definitely one of my hardest losses ever. I'm sure. By far.
And was that the end of professional basketball for you?
No, that was the end of my rookie year.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was the end of my rookie year, and then I signed with a different. I had an offer from a team in the higher division, which was weird, and I had an offer from like 2 teams in the same division that paid more than the higher division. So I went back to the same league that I already knew, and I got more money. So that's why I did that for 1 more year, and then I didn't like the second place I was at. It wasn't as comfortable living, and I miss my family. It was 10 months in Germany, 2 months gone, then you're back in Germany. So after about 4 months in, I was just like, yeah, this is my last year.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Last year playing pro or last year overseas?
Last year playing pro.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I always wonder about that, man. I always wonder about like a lot of the guys that I'm thinking of, respectfully, they play like on like some of like the highest leagues out there. But I do always wonder about the quality of life there, like especially if you have kids and like you don't bring your family out there with you. I do always wonder about that. Like some of the guys like my guy Tins, yeah. He's overseas right now.
Yeah, where is he at?
He's in Germany. If I'm not, no, he don't. He's in Kazakhstan.
Okay.
He's in Kazakhstan. Yeah, I hadn't even heard of the place before he went there, but he seems to be doing very well and enjoying it a lot. Yeah. And I think about like guys like him, like he was out there by himself. Like if I'm not mistaken, his girl is out there with him now. But just like, I always wonder about that, man. Like, I mean, you're doing what you love and you're living the dream, but I always like think like, at what point does the other stuff start to kick in? At what point do you say like, all right, I've lived the dream. This is tough, and I've lived the dream, and I don't want this part of this lifestyle anymore. I'm gonna just go back to the States and figure something else out. Yeah,
to play overseas, I think you have to be a certain type of person. I think you have to be introverted a little bit, and man, you have to be able to, like I tell you, you have to be able to go to dinner by yourself a lot. I mean, it's free dinner, but still you have to go out to eat by yourself. You have to be able to not talk to your family and friends as much as you want to because of the time difference. It's nice if you have a significant other, but man, it's pretty lonely. It was probably one of the hardest things mentally I've ever done. Like you get out there, you're really excited, and then it's just basketball, and all you do is basketball. So I mean, our schedule was you wake up at 10 a.m. or 8 a.m. you have a little shoot around. 10 a.m. you lift. Go home for a few hours, then practice 6 to 9. It's like it's every day. Yeah.
I see. It makes me think about like the college athlete who has that same regimen and that same schedule. I mean, granted, they're in the States, they got family, friends, and close by, but that same regimen, and they're not being paid. Well, I guess they are being paid now with the NIL, but that's all. And a lot of them are getting paid anyway. So. Yes, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah. But yeah, even in college, man, I mean, it's a hard schedule. I mean, we practiced at Western State and at RCC. We practiced in the morning before school every day, and then at 3 we would lift, and then we'd have a shoot around or another practice or something like that. And it's every day. And at RCC, obviously, at a junior college, we had study hall every day. So yeah, it's a rigorous schedule for sure. I just didn't know anything else. So I was just like, you know what, this is just life. This is what we do. But then when I got out there, it was just like, man, at least I was used to be doing it with my friends.
Right.
And I could go to this place and this place, have fun here. You know, you knew when you had your breaks and all that. It was like, when I had my breaks in Germany, it was like, Netflix. Mm-hmm. Like, how many times can you watch Netflix?
Right.
Before you get sick of it in 10 months. Mm-hmm. And then you want to think about doing it another 10 months? Mm-hmm. It's hard. Yeah.
I hear it. Yeah. It makes perfect sense.
It wasn't life for me. It was like, and my money wasn't great, but it was decent.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like my first year when all the money I had, I came back and in 2 months I had fun.
Mm-hmm. I feel it.
I knew I was gonna leave.
Right.
2 months again, I was like, man, I gotta have.
I'm gonna live it up. Right.
Fun.
Gotta make up for all the time I gotta sit up in this. I feel it. It makes perfect sense.
Fun. I was like, man, I spent a lot of money. But
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, back to the grind. I was like, man, I can't keep doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So
I feel it. Yeah. I feel it. So when you finished up in college, you left with a degree, right?
Yeah.
And so where was it? So you decided you don't want to play pro anymore. Did you already know what the next step was you for?
I've always wanted to coach.
Okay.
Yeah. So I decided that when I was at RCC my first year that I always wanted to coach and teach, and then I kind of got away from the teaching side, and I was like, I definitely want to coach when I was done. So I was that guy. I obviously was always a point guard, but I was the guy that was always like, okay, I like that play. Like, I used to write plays down from RCC all the way up to my last coach in Germany. So a lot of the stuff is the same stuff I run now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what brought you to San Diego in 2018?
So 2018, when I came back, my sister moved out here, and she married DJ Gay from San Diego State.
Did not know that.
Yeah, and so what brought me back and literally made my decision for not playing basketball anymore overseas was my sister got pregnant. So she had my nephew, and I was like, I'm done. I'm not, I can't be away from my nephew. So I was actually started out in San Diego, commuting back and forth from Riverside because I was coaching with Bulldogs.
Okay.
Because DJ was like, man, why don't you come and coach and train out here? And I was like, man, I'm in Riverside, and I was training some kids in Riverside and doing my thing out there and substitute teaching. And then he convinced me. He was like, dude, trust me, you're gonna do good out here. Trust me. And he was like, why don't you just come live with us? So funny story, man. I moved in with my sister and DJ in 2018. They convinced me to come out here, and I slept in the same room as my nephew for, how long was I there for? 6-7 months. Mm-hmm. So I literally watched him grow up from.
That's dope.
Yeah, so it was special for me, but it was also after 6 or 7 months, it was also like, okay, I'm living with a baby. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm 26 years old. I was like, I gotta get out.
Right.
I love you, Junior, but I gotta get out. So then I moved to an apartment in La Jolla, and then me and DJ started doing camps and clinics together, and then I actually branched off and started the academy before. It was another youth program, so it was like a branch off of Bulldogs, and I started that in Poway. So, and then right before the pandemic, we actually got up to I got it up to 12 or 13 teams.
Nice.
Yeah, and then the pandemic hit, and we lost that gym, the Boys and Girls Club in Poway, and just completely folded. Mm-hmm. So,
what was that like dealing with that? You out here, it seems like you just getting rocking.
Yeah, it was crazy because DJ was like, man, it's gonna be a lot of hard work getting your own stuff going, and he was like, but you could do it, and I was like, yeah, and me and Roy, my assistant coach at Francis Parker, we kind of took it on ourselves and put the groundwork in. We were there every day. We were coaching multiple teams. We were grinding. We were doing clinics. We were really grinding, and it was finally clicking, and we were like, cool, we got 12 teams, cool, we were gonna finally see some profit, real profit, where it's okay, we could do this, we could do that, and then everything got shut down. It was crazy, but the good thing is, man, during that time, I actually met my wife right before all this happened, so yeah, so that was the blessing in disguise, but other than that hurt for a second, and then that was when I was and all these kids wanted to train during the pandemic, obviously after everybody was sick of being inside. And that was when I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna start something else. So I kind of took like 9 or 10 of the best kids that I used to train and have, and I started a little team. And I started my training program and team, Multilevel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so like some of the key guys that you still have, some of the high schoolers that you have now, were they those kids?
Yeah, it was like Jake and
Okay.
Chris and Eli and Henry and all those guys. So,
Okay, dope. So you've been
yeah.
able to really like build and grow with them for a while.
No, for sure. And I was always a firm believer in like, I think training's great, but I think training and being able to coach the people that you're training is like 100% the best thing that you could do, especially at the youth level.
For sure.
Because I think in my opinion, like, we have a lot of trainers out here, but trainers are literally always telling guys like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. Like, man, you might need to come out here and coach. Maybe he shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? But a lot of trainers, you're never going to tell your kids you shouldn't be doing that, right? So, yeah. So I think, and I thought when I started Multilevel, I was like, this is a great chance for me to get these core kids in best of both worlds. So that was kind of how it went.
What's your I don't really know like how to ask this question, it just popped into my head, but just I was gonna say which like is the coach has to be more important because I mean he coaches the game. Anyway, I guess we'll move on.
Coach or what? What was the?
When I was trying to just think of like how like what do I want to ask here? Like who should the player be taking more instruction from and more like guidance from? But I guess it really just depends on the player, the coach, the trainer, and the situation.
It does, and I think a lot of, like, if you're really in to help a kid, I think it's good to, and you're a trainer, I think it's good to
Be in tune with the coach.
Be in tune with the coach. But a lot of coaches don't respect a lot of trainers here.
Agreed.
And that's just a fact. And no head varsity coach wants to hear from a trainer who he doesn't respect.
Where do you think the disconnect is? Why do you think the coaches aren't respecting the trainers?
Because I think it's the same message that coaches get. Like, it's always like, well, my trainer said. I don't give a damn what your trainer said. Respectfully. You know what I mean? Yeah, so.
Get you. Interesting. Interesting. And as a trainer, have you experienced any of that? Like, will you maybe tell a kid to do something like, oh, my coach said?
Well, yeah, and then I'm like, hey, man, let me talk to your coach, because if I'm going to be working with you 2 or 3 times a week, I want to know what he wants you to work on, and then I want to have a conversation with them. And when I was just training, I have a good relationship with a lot of coaches, because I've always wanted to be a coach. And even when I was assistant coaching, I was like always talking to people like, hey, man, that's a good play you got there. Like, that was good false motion, good this, and that. And I think I built a good rapport with coaches where I could call them up and be like, what do you want this kid working on, like, truly? And then I'll tell the kid too, like, this is what your coaches want. Do you want to play? Do you want to produce? Or you want to go between the legs 3 times and do a step back and sit on the bench? Because we could work on that if you want.
Right.
You better get a seating pad too, though. Yeah, so.
That's cool. I like how you said that.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the way you broke that down. At what point did you get the opportunity to coach at the high school level?
When I first got out here, I was actually introduced to Zach White. He was the point guard at Bishop's. And I was introduced to Coach Levine, who's still the head coach at Bishop's, and DJ gave me the connection. And I went into a practice and helped him out, and Coach Levine was like, man, I really love an assistant for varsity, and I mean, I think you'd be a great coach, And that was when I started. So I started there, and I was at Bishop's for 2 years under Coach Levine.
That was 2018 when you first got out?
Yeah, that was that first year. So 2018, I hopped right into it because I was like, man, I want to be in this high school world and in this competitive basketball and all that. So we did that, and then our first year, we lost in the semifinals. Chris Rose was on that team. Yeah, and it was a good team. It was fun, man. And Coach Levine's a great coach. I learned a lot from him, like team management, plays, and how he ran practices, and I was just honestly, I was trying to go around and learn from everybody. I learned from Coach Smith, and then I went from Coach Moskowitz to Coach Schaefer to another Coach Schaefer in Germany to Coach Nemo in Germany, and I was just taking everything I liked about what they did, and then everything I didn't like, I was like, man, I'm not going to do that. And then I learned from Coach Levine, and then DJ got the job at La Jolla Country Day, and obviously, like, I loved working with Coach Levine, but I was, DJ's my brother-in-law. He called me, he was like, let's do it. I was like, I think it was 2020. Our first year was that COVID year. Yeah, so I was like, obviously like as family, like let's do it. So then went to Country Day, and we got a good core group in, and we had a good Division I player, Richard. I don't know if you remember Richard Nweke. Yeah, and a couple other guys. So it was a decent year. Ended up losing in the second round to LCC that year, and then after that I went to Carlsbad, and then got a call in for an interview at Francis Parker that next year.
Oh, so they called you in for an interview?
Yeah.
Nice. How does that feel to be like?
Yeah, it was honestly it was great. One of my really good friends, Courtney, is the girls coach on that side, and the AD is amazing over at Parker. And they called me in and said they wanted to meet, and we met at a Starbucks, and then we met one more time after that, and then it came down to a couple people. There's a lot of applicants for that job, and they ended up offering me the job, and then I took it. So yeah, they reached out to me because I really wasn't looking. I wasn't looking to leave Carlsbad.
Happy where you were at?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be the second best team in San Diego. I was happy with that. Yeah. So, but it was a good opportunity for my family and me. And eventually, I did want to go to a school, and the only school that I would go to is probably a private school. Yeah, so I could teach with it. I don't have my credentials, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was one thing before we get to that. So what was it? How would you describe or like break down? No, not break down, but how would you describe your first year being a head coach in high school, varsity high school?
Man, it was challenging. I'll be honest. I went into a situation where it wasn't at its peak with where it left off the year before. But I mean, it was challenging, but it was a fun year, man. I had a really good group of kids. Like, they listened, they played hard, they practiced hard, they played for each other, and it was just a little bit of the talent was lacking. But we played a hard schedule.
You guys did.
I definitely made it tough on them. So, and I wasn't like, obviously I think even with our Francis Parker team, I think we could. I mean, if I scheduled right, we could have won 18, 19 games. You could always schedule okay out here, right? But I like to be challenged in games as a coach, and I like to challenge my guys, and it was good though. It was a good first year. Learned a lot. Yeah.
What's and I always ask this. I mean, as every team and coach and player does, but like, what were some of the the preseason goals that you guys set, and how did you guys do with like reaching some of those goals?
Yeah, preseason goals were we did them as a team, and it was to win league, and it was obviously to compete for a D1 championship. So, yeah, so it was a tough league this year with Santa Fe and La Jolla Country Day, and they were just honestly speaking, they're a little out of our reach. But I mean, they have really good coaching staff, really good players, and so we fell a little short, but those were the goals. Those were the goals. So, yeah.
These are the dope early growing pains, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I couldn't be more happy coming into a team that I came into, and the first year that I came into, I couldn't be more happy starting where I'm at. I like building.
That's dope. And so going into the off, I'm sure you guys are gonna have like open gyms and off season workouts and all that. But as far as like spring and summer, are you guys gonna play together? Or is everyone gonna go like to their?
There's a few kids at WestCoast Elite. I always encourage our kids to like go somewhere where you're just gonna be challenged and where you think is the best spot for you. Like I'm not like one of those guys where it's like, hey, we're all gonna stay together. Let's get better. Like, I think high school, they need to get away from their head coach, and I think they need to hear a different voice and play with different guys. I think it's good. I think it's good for the kids to play with different guys.
I do too, and I'm sure it's always been a thing, but I've only recently seen teams really start to high school teams play
year round.
Yeah, year round.
They do.
Well, it's a great benefit, like you see, like what happened with Saints and a few other teams that did it.
Montgomery,
but exactly. But then I agree with you though that like, different voices, different coaches specialize in teaching different things. Funny, I'm a little different, but kind of the same. I also see it the same way with training. I think kids should go. You should have your primary trainer. You should that you're your go-to guy that you build with, and you grow with. But I also think it's a good idea to go around and tap in with some of the other trainers.
For sure.
I mean, I look at it. Who's I just telling about this? I think it was my brother. But I look at it almost like a tutor.
Right.
It's like if I know Mason's like the best math tutor in town.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you know science and you know history and all that. But if you're a specialist in math, you're not a specialist in science. And if I want to be supremely well-rounded, then I got to go see the specialist in science too.
Right.
I look at training the same way. Now, I'm not saying like this trainer specializes in shooting. If you're a good trainer, you're very well-rounded and you can teach the whole game. But I do feel like a lot of kids would benefit from, if nothing else, just tapping in with everyone else and just picking everybody's brain. You know.
For sure.
But I also know though that I'm not saying that you are, but I also do know that a lot of trainers, whether they want to admit it or not, would prefer that their kids only stay with them.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And I think, like when we grew up, did you have a trainer?
No.
Yeah, I didn't have a trainer. So I think it's
average 25.
Yeah, I think it's a very different like dynamic now, and I think San Diego is very different in general too. I think San Diego, there's a lot of like, I don't know, in Riverside, there's like, I feel like there's trainers and it's like, oh, you want to work out? No. Yeah, hop in. Like it's very like nonchalant. Where in like San Diego, if like somebody's training with somebody, it's like news. It's like supposed to be on CNN or something.
Oh, I see.
Like, who cares?
Right.
Like, did you see so-and-so training with so-and-so? Like, like San Diego talks a lot.
I hear you.
It's always a bunch of drama. I've never been in a city with more drama. Like everybody's talking behind everybody's back every day. It's funny to me though.
I do. I agree with a lot of that. I do think the unity is starting to become more, and there is a lot of unity. There's not a whole bunch of division, but what you're saying is definitely true.
Especially when it comes to trainers and coaches and stuff like that. It's big. In clubs, it's big. Like I may talk behind somebody's back, but I'll definitely say it to your face too.
How do you think we, if it's possible, how do you think we kind of correct the ship and bring in more unity?
Nah, it ain't gonna work. Just too many bad fish. Not even bad fish, because there's a lot of great people out there. It's just too many egos. That's what it is. Too many egos. Too many ownership of kids that nobody has ownership of.
That's exactly what I was gonna say next.
It's ownership. It's like club guys, trainers. It's like you train them for 3 weeks, you think you own them. You don't own that kid. That's not your son. If he's not your blood, you don't own him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And if it's not ownership, everyone has their own, as you should, but everyone has their own plan and idea of what they think a kid should be doing or what they should be working on, which is fine. You can have your opinion, but I think it starts to get toxic when you start to treat your opinion like it's a fact and like you know best.
That's good. That's good.
You can feel like it's a fact all you want, but to position your opinion like it should be the first opinion considered, or like you know the best for this kid or for this situation, I think is when it starts to get toxic. Like I said, we're all going to have our opinions. We might look at a kid and be like, if I was working with him, this is what I would do.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's perfectly fine.
Exactly.
As long as you're not out here, bad mouthing. Did you see what he was doing with so-and-so?
Right.
So you can have your opinion as long as you're not out spilling it to everybody else.
Right.
I think it gets toxic when you start spilling it to everybody else and start treating it as if you know better or know the best.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. It's a funny topic for sure. It's good. It's funny.
What do you think you kind of specialize in, like in your training? I'm sure. I mean, you were a guard that could really shoot it. I'm sure, but like, what do you think you specialize in? If you had to pinpoint a couple of things.
I think what I probably specialize in is as a trainer, or as a trainer would probably be getting guys going hard and correcting footwork and like timing and pace. I think that's what I specialize in.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think it's kind of a lost art, like pace. I don't think a lot of guys play with pace anymore. I think it's always like, hey, come off this cone, and like nobody tells when to pause, when to put their hips towards the basket, when eyes should go up, because basketball's all chess, right? Like I know a lot of guys that aren't like I wasn't quicker than a lot of guys I got by, but I knew how to make you, like you know, which I still could do a little bit, and I can't even move anymore. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, and that's just all off here, not off anything I have in my body. Yeah, so that's what I kind of specialize in. I think in San Diego, I think it's really what's needed, because we don't have high flyers, as many high flyers as a lot of other cities.
I agree.
Yeah.
Interesting. What's do you watch? What's your favorite level of basketball to watch?
College.
Why is that?
Because it's real basketball.
I just had Justin Maluki here, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, it's too much like, it's like entertainment. No one really plays for the love in the pros anymore.
Until playoffs, yeah.
Right, until playoffs.
I haven't watched one NBA full game this year.
Really?
Yeah, I watch a couple quarters of the Mavs because I'm a Luka guy, but yeah, I haven't watched one. I don't think I've watched one full game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Say you're a Luka guy. What do you like about Luka?
Pace.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What's your favorite college team? Who do you like?
UCLA.
Oh, of course, yeah, he's doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I like Amari a lot. I really appreciate watching him.
He's gotten so much better.
That's what I was just about to say. I've really appreciated watching his growth and maturity. Even from I think I started
10 games in.
From 10th grade is when I really got tapped into him. So to see him from there to now was really, really impressive.
Yeah. And then in college I follow coaches that I like. So Tom Izzo is one of my favorite. You know, I follow old school coaches because I love old school coaches. I think that I got coached really hard, so it's one of those things that I really like. Like, I think Coach Smith was an old school coach, or is an old school coach, and it's just like guys that really hold you accountable and think this generation's soft. Those are the coaches I like, because it is.
Yeah. Did you with holding players accountable, because that's something that you're really big on. Did you run into, being at a private school and being more of an old school coach, did you run into any issues with holding guys accountable?
I actually had pretty good support this year. I don't think I ran into any issues, but in private school there could always be underlying issues that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah, they'll come to you, but you hear about it from other places.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
My brother used to be a coach. My brother used to coach in an area with people that don't look like us. I'll say that. He would run into things but for him though, some of it would come to him, and a lot of it he would hear just from other people.
Yeah.
So I know, you being a minority, being at at a private school, I know that, and then you speaking on being old school and holding people accountable.
Yeah.
In an era where athletes are soft and not used to that.
No, for sure. And I think
softer. I didn't mean
softer. Yeah.
Respect all athletes. Softer than years past.
I think it comes down to your morals and what you really think you're doing for the kid, and also obviously your support from your AD and stuff like that. And obviously you can't be too crazy. I mean, times have changed, but yeah. And I feel like I'm a pretty hard coach, but also I feel like I'm doing it all for the right reasons. So, yeah.
And intentions always shine through. Even if someone might feel he kind of got on that kid, or I would have done that a little different. If they know you're a good guy and that that you want the best for the kids, that Mason's a good dude.
Yeah.
That was a bit harsh, but Mason's a good dude.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you were a teacher.
Yeah.
How you liking that over there?
I like it. I like it a lot, man. I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade PE, and then I teach 9th grade life skills.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I thought about being a teacher for a moment. Actually, I taught preschool. When I initially thought about teaching elementary school, I taught preschool.
Did you?
Yeah. I taught preschool for 5 years. Everyone has that reaction.
That's a saint's job right there.
For sure. It's funny you say that, bro. When I first did it, I couldn't wait. I was working at before and after school programs. I couldn't wait to be a preschool teacher. I went to school, finished up. It was all about it.
I love that.
I did it for 5 years. That first 2.5 to 3 years, I was all about it. That last year and a half to two and a half years, I was I gotta find something.
It gets tough.
Yeah, it does get tough.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get back into it, low key.
Do you?
I don't know if I will, just because my photography thing is really starting to do what I've always wanted.
Yeah.
To do. But sometimes I do miss it. Sometimes, honestly.
Yeah.
So, but I have a 2-year-old now though, so I get to scratch that itch with him.
That's nice. Yeah. You don't need 9 others.
Exactly.
That's funny.
Well, that's dope though, man. That you're a teacher.
No, yeah, it's cool.
Have you like you seen? I guess you know. No. Being a PE teacher, you seen any athleticism? That you're like, he gonna be on my team.
Oh well, the good thing about our school at Francis Parker, so I'm a PE teacher, but we teach sports. So each PE teacher teaches so I teach basketball.
Nice.
And then so I get to see my 6th graders coming up in the program, 7th graders, 8th grade, and then I'm the director of 7th and 8th grade basketball. Okay. So and we actually play La Jolla Country Day, Bishops, and other schools. So we have a schedule so I can see. So I watched 6 or 7 of our 8th grade games this year, and let's kind of see what we have coming in and all that.
You guys got a whole built-in system and program with it.
Yeah, it's nice.
That's dope.
Yeah, so
y'all really gonna be rocking and rolling in the next couple of years.
Yeah, we should be all right, man. We should be all right. Yeah.
Really happy for you, bro.
No, I appreciate that.
I seen a year ago, however long ago it was when when the post went up, and I saw. I was like, oh, that's dope. So it was a shock for sure because I didn't think that you would leave not like that.
No, for sure.
Because
nobody thought I was leaving college.
Really happy and really dope. You got your guys over there. I'm like, yeah, that's dope. And then when I saw, I'm like, oh, good for him, man. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, definitely wasn't easy leaving Carlsbad, but really like Clark and the other assistant Dom, and obviously I got a couple guys over there that I'm really close to. So yeah, it was tough, but yeah.
Yeah. Really happy for you, bro. I think that was all I have for you today, man. I appreciate you coming in and talking over me, man. I've been really wanting to sit down with you for a while, so thank you for coming in, bro. I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
My guy.
All right, man.
Another episode of On the Mic with Michael Flix. I appreciate you guys tapping in. Until next time, take care.